ಹೌದಾ? ಹಾಂ, ರೈಟ್. Okay, right. I think now you can see all these things. Right. Sorry. Now we from this slide, right? So the structure of the effect is so as I told you, negative effect. Okay, whatever the good emotion or the bad emotion, good mood or the bad mood, we have some positive effects of that, and we have some negative effect of that. These are independent. That means these things are independent. Some are good, some are bad. That does not mean removing by a negative doesn't guarantee the positive. So if you are removing some kind of negative thing, it does not guarantee that it gives the positive thing. So that's the problem with these emotions and the say like moods. The managers must cultivate both resilience and optimism. So that's the main target of the any kind of manager, to make this environment throughout your organization. You have to manage this. So first of all, we look at the characteristics of the emotions. It basically triggers by a specific event. Emotions are based on some kind of specific events. We can't say what is that, but it's a kind of situation happening in the environment. Then the emotion comes. Sometimes you can experience that some by hearing some jokes you are getting angry. Sometimes somebody is very angry and he's blaming, but you are getting more fun, right? So it's kind of a thing. The triggers, those are short-lived. So minutes. Sometimes this type of things you just laugh and you just get to know that this is not the thing should not be laughed. So I should keep, so that you control it, or you of that incident is disappear sometime within second or sometime within minutes. So sometimes psychological changes, sometimes tone, the voice tone and expressions, those are getting definitely changed. I think you have seen some people when they are talking with the quick angry, you can understand why they are tone. So these are basically action oriented and prompt immediate behavior. So sometimes people are getting something and they jump and hit. Sometimes people are starting to laugh and he get up and rolling laughing. Okay, so action oriented. So anger at the unfair treatment drives assertive action. So then the next slide. So what are the moods? So we know things are like that. So what are the characteristics of mood? Not directed at specific events. It's not based on different situations, but it takes longer duration, sometimes hours, days. Some people are getting full upset. They are within in that situation for hours and hours or the days and days. Subtle psychological response. Uh, Physiological responses are not directly you can see, but those things are happening in our body, inside the body. Sometimes generating that kind of are happening. So affect perception and reasoning. Always the reasonings. It affect on that kind of nature. Bad mood misinterpret neutral comment as criticism. So that is the reasoning. So if you are in a bad mood, some people are giving you a natural comment of something, you are getting angry. You see it as a criticism. That is the because people do not show they are in, but they are having that kind. So that is the different difficulty and dangerousness of the. So we talk about the emotion versus mood. It's a managerial relevance. Emotion arises from the events. So mood arises from the climate. Climate means what? The organizational culture and the other immediate reaction needing empathy and so by emotions understand the particular person and you can solve the problem most of the time. But the moods it take longer term tone needing moral management. So there we have to have manage that situation rather than the emotion management. So therefore the leader must read and respond to each. So you should understand what kind of situation with this guy. Is it a emotion? Is it a mood? Right? So you have to understand and you have to react. So the emotion and moods in decision making. So basically we know that positive mood fosters creativity and openness. Right? Always people are they are very creative and they are having very open. But mild negative moods improve attention to details. If you are having a kind of a negative mood, you always finding the detail rather than the opening your head. Right? So the extreme modes distort the judgment. Distort the judgment. So they basically destroy the rules. They violate the guidelines because they are in that kind of to do people. They are creative. They are going to be having other new concepts and other thing. But in the mild negative mood, they they basically looking at the each and every thing very closely rather than become very open. But they do not going to violate the rules. But extreme moods they distort the judgment of the decisions. So balanced emotion leads to optimal decision making. So emotional intelligence link. The ability and regulate one's emotion determines workplace success. So the emotions forms the foundation of leadership effectiveness. We want to talk about the emotional intelligence and other things, but for the moment, you should understand that to ability to recognize and understand and regulate one's emotion determines success. So the emotions forms the foundation of leadership effectiveness. Right? The sources of emotion and moods, if we are looking at what are they, So the workplace emotion arises from basically from the biological, psychological, and environmental factors, right? No single source dominates emotions are dynamic and multi-casual. Basically, people are having a quick reactions and other thing. Most of the time, those are coming from the genetics. Oh, okay. So those influences of intrinsic and expressiveness, right? So other thing is neurotransmitters like dopamine affect. Sometimes, some reasons, some people's these different hormones are generating. They have a particular specific action. Some are very happy mood, some are in very sad mood, some are in very angry mood, and that kind of things are happening. So, if the things are going wrong, sometimes doctors to manage these kind of things. I think I have observed that some older people, more than age 80, 90 kind of people, they are having very rational thoughts due to neurotransmitters like reason. So what we have to do is we have to give them the drugs. But we should understand that some people in the organization they may have these kind of health problems. Okay, so but it's not a problem until it's become a problem. But the basically the happy it's not a problem. But if the people are getting more angry and having that kind of feeling always, we have to closely observe in them, as well as the hormones, cortisol and oxytocin affect stress and bonding. So actually these hormones are generating throughout the internal effects, internal emotions also. So other way, so once that kind of and it affects the hormones, and the hormone kind of effects on the stress and bonding, then the feeling is continuing. And the fourth one is the sleep and health. These two, the sleep and the health directly shape moods. Yet there are no any kind of justification. We required the sleep, the requirement of the sleep. But people have found of the sleep what we are getting. I think you get my point very clearly, right? Basically, say like people have understand why different things are happening in our body, like why the pulse are doing that one, the pulse are happening, why we are walking, and all other things. But for the sleep, there is a no logical explanation why we are sleeping. But we have number of research and explanation as going to have. Now you can argue that those are the reasons for the sleeping, but fundamentally, people can live without sleeping. People can live without sleeping. Okay? So somehow sleep as well as the health directly shape mood stability. So you know that when you are having a headache, what is your mood? So you can understand, right? As well as we have the personality and effectivity. Personal traits define effect. For an example, extraversion they have positive energy. But the neuroticism basically anxiety and tension. Therefore, the emotional stability is and control fundamentally. Then, emotional stability predicts resilience under pressure. So if you are having this emotional stability, so you can survive even if you are in a pressure. So in simple way, if I say, if you can peace, you can face any kind of situation without getting more worried. Without getting more worried. This inner is destroyed by these emotions. That's the idea in other way. Environmental and situational sources. So earlier we talked about the biological kind of a thing. Now we are talking about the environmental and situational sources. So basically, time of the day, mood peaks midday, right? So time of the day, right, for the moods and the feelings. Say like people don't like to get angry in the morning, but in the evening people are like to get angry. Okay, so therefore this type of thing we have to look at when we are dealing with this thing. So other one is weather. It's a minimal or actual effect. And sleep, exercise, nutrition, and mood stabilizers. And day of the week. Sometime we were talking about the time of the day. Now we think of day of the week. It's a Monday to and Friday are again party mode, that kind of thing. And the social interaction, basically how from whom we are going to have the interaction. It is not depend on the number of people. It is depend on the quality of that particular interaction. There are person with you to share your thoughts without peace is getting more and more in the peace is getting more and more prominent, and you are getting more and more peace in your in. But that particular person is making you more and more angry. You are totally destroying your inner peace. So therefore, environmental and situational sources are affecting on our things. So then we look at stress and emotional fluctuation. Chronic stress cause burn. So when you are having a stress, acute stress, makes you fear. Oh, and fight or you are going to run away. That's the idea. But the chronic stress causes burnout. You feel told you are burned. Oh, totally. You have no worry, no use of any other stress cause. Because mindfulness restore emotional balance. Sometimes heals the problem. Sometimes the heals. Sometimes the rest is feeling. Most of the time, mindfulness restore the emotional balance. So the leaders monitor team stress to maintain morale. So therefore, basically leaders are monitoring the team stress to, and we are talking about the gender and age differences. So there we have experienced that women basically express emotion more freely. More freely, they do not hide it. And as well as they can interpret other emotions better. They know so when they are crying, they are the sad they cry. At the same time, they can understand somebody is crying. Is it for sad or any other thing? That's the thing. And when suppress emotion, basically people are not going to cry. Major, you are not going to cry in front of the staff. Okay. However, the ladies are doing that. And other important factor is older adults experience fewer negative emotions and more. They, if you have observed that, they are basically calmer than the younger one, right? And the emotional maturity, team stability. So this maturity is required in a team. Emotional maturity is required in a team rather than shouting and fighting and everything. Okay, so I will stop for 1 minute, then I will start again another 2 minutes. Okay, let's continue. Of the emotion. So we know that cultures value harmony and restraints. So some people, so collectivities cultures mean, say like they are considering about other people. So in such kind of they always value the harmony with the people as well as their leader. But in individualist cultures, encourage expressiveness. Always in the individualist cultures, they try to show off their problems, their winnings, and all other things. Those are getting more important in their culture. Emotional display differ by culture. So therefore, sometimes some organization, countries, or some people, or some whatever the cluster of people, the showing that sadness is, showing that feeling is controlled by that. Okay, the cross-cultural managers inter-emotion contextually, so they know how to manage, how to interpret the emotion according to the situation. Say for an example, sometimes somebody requesting, I want this thing. Okay, but you think two type of occasions, harmony and the restraints are considering value. So when a person is shouting like that, looking at that particular person and try to accommodate his requirement. Yeah, organization where all the people are requesting, shouting, and complaining all the time, no one is looking at a particular person. I want this thing and something. Is the that is the idea we have to take. So the this how the feelings spread. How the feelings spread now. Earlier I said that feeling is individual something. How it is spread, that is interesting. Basically, emotions spread through facial cues and tone. Positive moods elevate team energy. Negative mood spread faster. We know that positive things are increasing the team energy. Negative is happen. It is spread faster than the positive. So the leadership emotion is a social contagion that define culture. Therefore, the leader emotion is one of the critical thing in this particular thing, because as I told you, if an emotion is there, it is basically spreading among the people around you. If the leadership is having the kind of emotion, there's a high chance of that spreading that emotion among the people in the organization. So we have some other organizational sources for the emotion. Some jobs, by the design, it provides the worker to make its what is this autonomy increases the positivity, right? And leadership support reduce anxiety. Some organization leaders are very much think of this anxiety. If a person come across with that particular anxiety idea, they are immediately jump and help them. So that leadership also important. Third one is the increases the fatigue, and recognition come in this slide is the recognition. So appreciation builds motivation. Always the people, when you are appreciating the people, they are looking at the world in a positive way, and they motivate to do the works. Emotional labor. What is emotional labor? Some job categories are there. You have to maintain your emotion. So I have put two photographs. One is officer, other one is a banking assistant or somebody in front of the counter. So if the policeman is always laughing, right? The emotional labor, emotional feeling, but you may have a different idea in your head, but you feeling according to your job. Think about a person who need to laugh throughout the office hours, even having whatever the problem with that particular person. So that is a dangerous situation, but condition we can call as emotional labor. So we have different type of emotional labors. The first type is the surface acting. Actually, is the fake emotion. You have seen some people when you are working, when you are visiting some supermarkets or the banks or whatever the public places. You will some people are there. Their emotions are they fake it to show that they are very happy in a very happy mood, right? And the second mode, adjusting internal state to feel the emotion. So even if you don't have that particular feeling in your mind, you yourself believe you are in that particular emotion, right? So the third one, the simplest thing is the genuine emotion. Basically, you are having that emotion and you are giving your service or whatever the services without faking, without moderating your internal status to a good status. You have the natural feeling. However, the deep acting sustains well-being, surface acting drains energy. Again, I'm telling you, deep acting sustains well-being. However, surface acting drains energy, because the surface acting, you have to hide all these feelings and you have to show the required feeling of your job category. So there are consequences of this type of emotional labor. The first thing is surface acting causes burnout and cynicism. So you are going to stress, or you are going to totally black out when always you have to try with the surface acting. However, the deep acting consumes effort but maintain authenticity. So the deep acting not going to be a very dangerous one, because you yourself believe that I am in happy, and you are behaving happy. Okay, but it will not become a very much big problem like silence acting. So the third one is the emotional dissonance. Conflict between felt and displayed harms the satisfaction. But fundamentally, in the surface acting, you have a particular emotion in your heart, but another emotion in your face. You are behaving both at the same time. So this is we call as the emotional disorders. So this is definitely affect the workers or the person who is having that particular idea. So emotional dissonance is the inner conflict. Basically, it occurs when employee must fake feeling they don't feel. Right? So for an example, you are calmly assisting the root clients. It creates stress, exhaustion, and withdrawal. What's that? Felt is not displayed, that is we call as dissonance. How to manage the managerial dissonance? So first one is the training emotional regulation, relaxation, mindfulness. So I have listed a couple of points so you can understand by reading. But fundamentally, what we are going to do is we let to know, we try to understand, uh, we train to regularize our emotion. The second one method for the managing emotional dissonance is encourage authenticity over the fake positive. So there we should try to encourage the authenticity rather than the fake positive. The third method is allow safe emotional outlets. So there we give staff protect space to release emotional tensions without getting blamed or without getting judged. As well as we take some meetings and get down them and we have a chat with them, and we are going to talk about the problems and other things. They are reporting all these things and they're starting to feel uh, this safe emotion outlet kind of activity. Other thing is the rotation of the staff into these high emotional roles. So we are not going to keep the same person forever in the same type of job where that emotional dissonance is happening. We are time to time changing the people. Sometimes it may be a weekly schedule. So there are ethics of emotional display, because emotions should never be exploited for profit. But what the some you have seen that some television channels are doing. They are selling the sadness. So we are, the ethics is emotion should never be exploited for profit. Other one is ethical management include emotional support, fairness, not only that respect. You can degrade any kind of person because of their mental states. You have to respect it. Not only that, we have to think like the emotion is a human resource, not a commodity. It's a human resource because if it is positive, you will have the positive things to the organization, as well as if it is negative, there are negative consequences to the organization. Right. When we are talking about the emotional labor and job performance, healthy emotional regulation improves services, satisfaction, and teamwork. I think I don't need to talk about all these things. So this is one of the key thing in this uh, requirement of emotional regulations. Over-controlled emotions kills creativity and connection. So if you are going to control the emotions over and over, you are going to be kind of a robotic person, and basically you are losing your creativity and connections between different objects and everything, and become a machine-like person. Therefore, the balance professionalism with authenticity is requirement. So now we come to another special heading. So we take a 5 minute break and start. Okay, now we talk about the effective events theory. Effective events theory. This is this theory is basically introduced by Wiese and Copernicus in 1996. It introduced effective event theory to explain how specific work events generate emotional reflection that affect employee behavior and attitudes. Again, I am telling, explain how specific work event. Some work events generate emotional reactions. So that emotional reaction affect the employee behavior as well as the attitude. The key principle is emotions are short-lived but have lasting effect because they drive motivation and judgment. So their theory, they basically what they are saying that emotion is a short event, but it lasting because they are drive motivation and judgment. So this is the concept map: work environment, work events, emotional reaction, work outcomes. So in the work environment, some work events are happening based on that emotions and emotion reactions are generating. Because of that emotions, the work outcomes are defined. Work environments are the job structure or the leadership or the culture. So the work events may be some kind of praise, conflict recognition, blame, blackguarding, or that kind of event. So emotional reaction mean what the reaction of the particular person. It may be anger, pride, or frustration, or some other feeling. However, the outcome is it may be the performance increases, it may be satisfaction increases, it may be the commitment increases. The key assumption of the AET is the key assumption of the AET is emotions are triggered by specific work events. So we have discussed that one, right? And but in this theory, emotions are triggered by specific work event, right? Then emotion responses shape work outcome. Personality and mood moderates the reaction. So earlier we discussed that the emotions are the short events and the moods are the normal situation or the underlying concept or the underlying behavior of the person. But this theory says we know that emotions are generated by the work events and emotional response and shapes outcomes. Okay, then personality and mood moderates the reaction. If you are in a particular good mood, if the bad emotion comes, that means the level of bad can be reduced by the good mood. The fourth one is accumulated experience influence the long-term attitude. Accumulated experience influence the long-term attitude. The one example for the AET is this is a positive event. Manager praises employee publicly. The emotion it creates a pride and a gratitude. The short-term effect is increase the enthusiasm of the particular person. However, the long-term motivation, loyalty, and satisfaction gathered. And positive effect builds reinforcement loops. So it's happening. We think about negative event. So somebody is publicly criticize some person work. The emotion is embarrassment and the anger. The short term is withdrawal or defensiveness as the short term effect. In the long term, it becomes reduced morale and the engagement. A small accumulation predict turnover more than pay dissatisfaction. Right. We look at the micro events and the macro events. So we macro effects, micro events and the macro effects. So this is one of the part of the AET that effective event theory. Minor daily interaction accumulate into a strong emotional climate. Minor daily interaction accumulate into a strong emotional climate. That means the greetings. Say like you are every day, your manager is greeting to somebody. So it's a develop a kind of a trust according to this theory. Right? Sometimes you are ignoring the effort of the people. So then with the time the alienation has been right? And some situations say like you are frequently give a feedback, but fair feedback. Because people are there some are always appreciating people, right? Not that kind of thing. You are giving the fair feedback of a particular activity of the people. So what it developed, the confidence is developed within the team. And the most thing we do not think that is the sarcasm. We're laughing at the people or we are making some joke out of them. So it is a small micro event, but it is happening frequently. What will happen? Resentment. That means there's an angry kind of situation is going to develop because sarcasm is always not happy to everybody. Somebody may be felt it. So that feeling gather, finally it become a anger over the entire people. So therefore culture is emotional sum of micro event. Culture is a emotional sum of the micro events of an organization. So therefore what we have to understand is there is no something called culture in an organization. We can go and visit, but it's the behavior, it's the small micro event of the particular setup makes the culture for the emotion. So that's a very important point we should learn. So if you have observed that sometimes your organization people, some people are there, they always laughing at somebody else. Try to stop them because they are making the enemies inside the organization between the team members. So this is the emotional episode cycle. Event happen, appraisal, interpret event meaning and feeling, emotional experiences we are taking, expression, verbal or the non-verbal display, and consequences. The behavior creates new events. So this is the cycle which is happening in any kind of organization based on this emotional activity. So moderators in AET. Intensity of these are the moderators, right? Intensity of emotion depends on personality traits, pre-existing moods, social support, and event importance. Strong emotion arises from high value for fairness related events. So uh, if you can remember that, once we have a micro event, so it will affect on the feeling of the behavior and the culture of organization. But there are moderators, personality traits. That some people are there where they are not doing that kind of wrong thing and they stops the people who are doing that kind of thing. So then it moderates the theory's activation of micro events to the cultural development or the performance development of organization. So the pre-existing modes and other things are the same way. So now I'm talking about the ET and job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is a cumulative emotional evaluation of experiences. Job satisfaction. However, the positive emotion enhances the satisfaction and the negative emotions reduce it. Therefore, the satisfaction reflects the emotional history of a work life. Emotional history of a life is the thing we call as the satisfaction. Satisfaction. So therefore, AET and the organizational behavior, what we can do is we can make the positive emotions helping and coordinating, and negative emotion sabotage and proceed. So the AET helps managers anticipate emotional outcome and design emotionally intelligent workplace. By analyzing these things, we can make some good emotions in the organization as a micro event. For that, you have to understand what are the positive emotions and the negative emotions to your organization. Right. Now I'm going to talk about managerial applications of AIT. The first one is create positive micro events. What you can do is you can create a positive micro events. For an example, greeting to the people, wishing to the people, right? Say like when you are leaving to the office, you are telling good night or something to somebody. So that kind of greeting things, those are the micro events. You can create the positive micro events. Then other one is the monitor emotional climate. So always being a manager, you have to look at what kind of emotional culture or the climate is in your organization under your nose. Emotional climate, because emotional climate is the replication of micro events activity according to the theory. Third one is the address negative spirals early. Once you understand some negative something, you have to quickly attend that and then you have to solve that. The fourth one is build feedback system with empathy. So always you have to take the particular people's idea and their behaviors by their own words and react when they are unhappy. Then managers are emotional architects. That's the kind of word we have given to you all. Managers are emotional architects. So they know how to architect the emotions within an organization. Because you are going to manage the people are basically run on food, blood, and other things, but fundamentally the energy source is this emotion. Therefore, if you manage the emotional architecture, then it means that you manage the entire organization success. So, if I'm talking about the AET summary, daily events trigger emotions that shape job satisfaction and behavior. Emotion reaction predict performance better than rational attitudes, and AET operationalize empathy in management. Right. Okay. So we take another 1 minute break and then we start. Okay. Let's start the emotional intelligence. So this is one of the most prominent heading at the moment. The emotional intelligence. We consider the AI, artificial intelligence, still trying to get into this area, but people believe that artificial intelligence cannot understand this emotional intelligence. But I don't know. what will happen, it may be happen. Fundamentally, what is EI? EI is the ability to recognize, understand, and regulate emotions in, first of all, in ourselves and in others. Don't misunderstand that emotional intelligence is, first of all, you have to understand yourself. I have to understand myself, and then we try to understand others. So this was a idea for a long time, but in 1995, Goldman has popularized this. As well as high AQ may fail with high EI. Without high EI, if people don't know how other people are behaving and how to regulate the emotions of them, even if you are a very intelligent person, you are going to fail. So we have four dimensions of EI. The first one is self-awareness. This is the first stage. You have to recognize your own emotions first. Before talking about others' emotion, we have to recognize our emotions. That is the self-awareness. This is very important in emotional intelligence. The second one is the self-management, control impulses and stay adaptable. We should know how to control the impulses as well as manage it to the manageable level. The third one is the social awareness. Then once we have what is our emotion and how to control it, if we are practicing that one, then we can look at the outside world. So we then social awareness called as understand others' emotion. And the final is once you understand the other's emotion, so then you can manage the relationship without any problem. That's the idea of four dimension of EI. So before going to the EI in depth, so our brain, there are different areas of our brain which gives different things. For an example, my gala is triggers the fear and anger. As place special place in the head. And next slide I will show that particular place. And the hippocampus links emotions and to the memories. It's kind of a this facility. It links the emotions to the memories. And likewise, in our different areas, we have different functionalities. Then it says that EI links the forefrontal cortex, that means the front end, the forehead of us cortex, and the emotions generation is linked by the EI component. So it's not a physical one, it's a hypothetical one, but somehow they say that in that particular way. So the other point is the EI balances logic with feeling, and high EI is the emotional agility and the rational clarity. Those are these ideas of the EI. So I'm not going to talk about this EI component very strongly, but self-awareness in depth. So we have to recognize, understand, link, and fail. But to recognize emotion as it occurs, then understanding its sources and link feeling to the outcome. And without self-awareness, empathy and regulation fail. So those are the self-awareness in depth. The self-management direct emotion towards the productive goals. We can do that one. Control impulsivity. The second one is stay calm under stress. The third one is adapt to change. Adapt to change. Or you can control the impulsivity, or you can wait, uh, or you can wait when that particular thing happens, or the third one is you are going to adapt that particular new situation. Leadership is responding, not reacting. So therefore, leadership is going to react, not react, but respond. Yeah. So then the social awareness, empathy and perception of others' emotion is we call it the social awareness. So it active listening and social observation are the main two key things to be practiced to get the social awareness. And leaders high in empathy prevent small issues from escalating. escalating. So when you are in the relationships, building positive relationship through emotional awareness, then we can include the conflict resolution, persuasion, and collaboration, and then the leadership guide the emotion towards the shared goals. So how to measure the EI? There are a number of mechanisms are there to measure the EI. Basically, ability-based test, self-report, and 360 feedback are three prominent methods we are practicing at the moment. Practicing at the moment. So how the EI in the leadership, high EI leaders, they can inspire and motivate others because these type of high EI leaders, they know what they are feeling is how to control it. Therefore, they are very much happy. Create psychological safety and manage crisis calm. So that's the very much important. Leadership is emotional work, not only strategy. So we can say that this is emotional work, but we should understand that leadership is the strategy where you should be able to manage all the emotions around him strategically. So developing a EI, emotional intelligence, I'm give a couple of points. One is the mindfulness. So build awareness of your own emotion as they arises. That is the mindfulness. You are looking at what you are thinking and what you are doing at this moment, nothing earlier or tomorrow. Feedback and coaching. So sometimes we can external input shows uh, blind spots in you, and you can't see that kind of thing. You have to manage that one, and you have to learn this thing. That's the way of understanding others' idea, others' views, and own idea and own views. So the empathy practicing training yourself to understand others' feeling more accurately, improve listening, patience, and relationship building, and reduce conflict and enhance collaboration. So the last point is the reflection and journaling. So the journaling is the thing which we have done in the good old days. We wrote a diary, right? So that diary, like some documentation, you are keeping on the particular required area where you are going to implement emotional intelligence, and then you can understand where you are heading to. By the reading all these things or the write down thing, you can find what person uh, you have been developed by yourself. Right. Emotionally intelligent cultures show basically high engagement, collaboration, open communication, and this burnout as we discussed. So now we come to the last point of the today's lecture: emotions and performance. Emotions are moved across distance making, motivation, creativity, leadership, and teamwork, as shown on the left side of the image. Emotion context shapes how knowledge become action. How knowledge become action. So the positive moods basically be creative and flexible thinking, but the negative moods detailed, cautious thinking, and balanced emotion is better judgment. So when we talk about the emotions and the creativity, positive affect broadens thinking, broaden and build theory, and negative effects happen in the focus, and emotional balance sustain innovation. So you can see that all these three things will be required an organization is running, but be carefully. We will manage the negative uh, uh, affected sharpness and negative things because they will definitely harm to the organization. So the teams mirror collective emotion, positive tones build trust, negativity spread of the faster, and one emotion intelligent member can stabilize group mood. So if we are having at least one person in our team with a good EI, that person makes the entire team very happy and enjoyable work force and the organization. Emotional stability and the performance. Emotionally stable employees they shows that they study the performance and the handle pressure well. They know how to handle the pressure, made in a clear judgment. So based on not like the negative side of the problem or the positive side of the problem, he looks at the middle side of the problem and make the accurate decision. Suitability sustain productivity over time. So there are managerial strategies to emotional management. So model calm and authenticity. Leaders set the emotional tone for the team and saying steady towards pressure, reducing can conflict. And authentic behavior builds trust and psychological safety and staff mirror the environment standby they use. So then offer emotional listening training. So you can say that you can train people on this subject. And third one is the reward constructive emotion use. So you can make a host a kind of appreciation session to uh, constructive emotion use in their day-to-day life and kind of a competition and give a value to them. Higher for EI as well as the IQ. Basically, in the interviews earlier, we look at the higher IQ people. Now, we have to think of the people that have the EI also. So, with that, we come to the summary of today's lecture. We talk about the emotion. Those are short-term reactions, and the mood are the long-term tones that arises from biological, psychological, and social sources, as well as the emotional labor and dishonest shapes service quality and well-being. We have understood. Then managing emotion, especially is central to the modern leadership. And AT, daily events trigger emotions that influence outcomes. And EI, emotional skill predict leadership effectiveness. And performance, emotional balances drives creativity and collaboration. And finally, emotional intelligence organize master human potentials. So with that, we come to the conclusion of our lecture, and we will meet most probably on Saturday. So we have to complete the lectures by next week. Therefore, we have to complete all the another four lectures within this single week. Therefore, I'm trying to conduct a couple of lectures in the weekends and another couple of lectures at the weekdays. Weekdays. Okay. So then I will stop this lecture. Thank you very much.
ලස්සන ගායකයෝ අභ්‍යාස නැහැ